It's the holidays, and tucked between Thanksgiving and Christmas is Bill of Rights Day, when both parties will run merry PSAs like these.
I ask that all Michiganders read, study, and learn the contents of the Bill of Rights.
I'd encourage all Americans to read, to study, to talk about and think about those first 10 amendments, the Bill of Rights.
But do we really need to study our rights? After all, we seem pretty confident about this topic.
Now, wait a minute. I know my rights.
I know my rights.
I know my civil rights.
I know my rights.
Well, the framers of the Constitution hoped that everyone would know their rights at least as well as Mr. Anderson here. Of course, you know the Bill of Rights was not part of the Constitution's original equipment. For many, like James Madison, that was because putting rights down on paper just didn't seem to matter after our revolution. If a majority of the people became angry or afraid or just plain smug, rights were abused everywhere, regardless of whether the state had a Bill of Rights in its Constitution. But Jefferson and others insisted, and most came around to the idea, hoping that if we imprinted our rights on the Constitution, then our rights would also become imprinted on our national psyche. If a sincere conviction in our own rights became ingrained in our identity, we wouldn't tolerate abuse of others, even when provoked by those who want to separate us. So, should we memorize the 27 separate rights in the first 10 amendments? The framers expected something different. They didn't want our understanding to end with the specifics they wrote down. You might be surprised that even they weren't sure, or anyone could be sure, of all the rights that should belong to the people. Instead, the framers would have us learn and believe in the essence of rights. To do that, let's imagine a time long ago, before governments, when individuals were free to do as they pleased. In this natural state, each person enjoyed complete freedom, and whatever one hunted or gathered or built became their own. But this was a harsh environment, where life, liberty, and property were always at risk from thieves and brutes. So the people joined together into a social whole, let's call it a state, where they could find safety and fulfillment. Everyone contributed their natural rights to the state, which gained supreme power over them. No longer did everyone do as they pleased. They would submit to the laws of the state. The people did this voluntarily, for security, comfort, and a chance at happiness. But the people did not contribute all their rights. We can't give up fundamental freedoms like of speech or of worship. They are inalienable. And the state couldn't do just anything. The state had to use restraint to exercise its power only when necessary for the common good. All of this is often described as a social compact, a contract among the people in society where individuals contribute their rights in exchange for the protection that only a community can provide. But make no mistake, the contribution has strings attached. We cannot relinquish our inalienable rights, and we do not give up any rights at all, except when the good of the whole requires it. This seems easy enough to know. Sure, no individual can part with their inalienable rights. But what are those exactly? And where do they end? Recall the framers didn't think they could list them all. And when's it okay for the state to act? Who's to say what's necessary for the common good and what's not? You might be tempted to answer, the Supreme Court decides on our rights, and Congress decides what laws are necessary. This is true enough in the short run. In our republic, though, we elect the lawmakers. In 6 years, every law can change, and we elect the presidents who make lifetime court appointments. In a generation, every court decision can change. In the long run, you and I define our rights, and we have a contractual duty to one another to keep them secure. If asked, how do we keep a republic? The framers would remind us that our liberty ultimately depends on our knowing our rights, believing in them, and protecting them, not just in good times, but in times of stress, not just for ourselves, but for everyone who has signed our social compact. For more ways to keep a republic, please come back to the Framers Toolkit.